are here recording an unboxing of the new Rainbird ESP-ME3 outdoor irrigation controller. Right here. This has been in the Australian market for what, 2 or 3 weeks, 4 weeks?
Yeah, no more than 3 weeks, yep.
And not a lot of Australian stores that we've seen have them at the moment. Surely that'll change very soon. I'm conscious of the fact that this video is going to be watched around the world, so obviously this is an Australian model. I'm going to take it that the US model's the same.
Same, just different voltage.
Yep. Plug. So I guess my first thoughts were that the box is quite basic compared to what we've been looking at recently with competing brands.
Yep. Well, their previous product too.
So was there? They actually had coloured boxes, didn't they?
We've got the ME.
Oh, the WPX is up there, so that's a colourful box.
Gloss finished embossed product. They've moved back to, I guess,
plain colour. Well, they haven't gone back to dark, like to brown. So they're obviously their original boxes were like that.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
I wonder what the goal is with that. Like if it's just, oh, well, it's cheaper, so we'll just do it.
You know, they released the TM2 and what have you, all very pretty, and then stripped it back. So.
And this has got.
Sure.
So first things I'm seeing 3-year trade warranty.
Yes.
This must be a US box, and they've just stuck stickers over it. I reckon that's the case because that WaterSense logo's not Australian.
Great. So yeah, like the other products.
And rather than making an Australian box, they've got all languages on the sides, and then they've got the WaterSense. So that would be watermark approved sticker.
Well, not in theory, yes, but it's not. Because if it is, they would have the rights to use the watermark approved. So that's
you don't reckon they've got watermark approval on this?
Well, unless like it's saying they've not gone down the effort of printing an Australian box.
Yeah.
Or adding that to it.
Okay.
So we've seen other brands where they've got that
and the other one
next to it. So yeah.
So
I guess I can't say whether it is watermark approved or not.
So the box feels pretty sturdy, well made. The controller takes up the large portion of the box. This is good for us from a shipping standpoint. There's not a lot of wasted space in there. They've changed the door on this from the ESP-ME.
Yes.
It looks a bit thicker. So we'll just cover off what's in the box first. So we've got the controller itself, nice and sturdy controller, and then a little pack here. So there's nothing else in the box other than packaging. And that comes with, where's the key? So instructions.
Normally keys come off
the inside the box.
They were normally hanging off the
It'll
cupboard.
be inside there somewhere. So what do we got here? Special features card, that's pretty cool. That used to be something that they kind of kept a bit more
Only online.
like private or kind of trade only.
Yep.
And then there's a programming card for you to fill out here. Not sure how relevant that kind of is now with the introduction of app-based and web-based. But might be a good visual.
Well, yeah, I guess it's probably just maybe they write down what they're intending to do would help as well. Just
It
as
feels
a
like you could
worksheet.
write on here with a whiteboard marker and
Rub it
reuse
off or
it.
something, yeah.
And then instructions, which we've been guilty of not reading in the past. So, yeah, there's your instructions. I don't think it would be fair for us to read the instructions on this controller.
And we have it on the others.
We haven't, so we'll just get straight into it. So that's what comes in the box.
Correct. I noticed there's an alarm light feature. Obviously, you've got alarm here. And obviously, being door closed allows the end user to know.
Yep.
They don't have to open it up to figure out that something's potentially wrong with it. Key lock, obviously, if you're in an area that might have people accessing it and what have you, that's not just in your backyard.
Well, this is expandable out to 22 stations,
so
it could be used small
it's
commercial.
residential, light commercial. Yeah,
Yep.
correct. Okay.
It sounds like the keys are in it.
Yeah, so you got your
Keys, wall plugs, and screws. So to install the controller, all you need is a drill and a screwdriver to hang the controller anyway.
Yep. Correct. Looks similar to the first model ESP-ME.
Yep.
A little bit different as far as I've gone. This like grey kind of logo.
That was
quite,
just the same
quite
colour as the box
strong.
before, wasn't it?
I think so, yeah. And then this seemed to
Matches
be
on the front.
like the same as that, and it's quite, I guess, a bit more moulding changes.
It's interesting that they've popped it out. Like, I don't know if it's just, it looks more like it's popped out or not, but yeah.
Yeah,
Unless
whether it's a deeper
it looks
controller.
the same thickness.
Yeah, that doesn't look any different.
No.
Yeah. Okay, so just take this off.
So what Matt's doing now is removing the door, and then this faceplate also is removable.
Yep. I'm removing this purely for ease of us.
Yep. But you can remove that door to make it easier to hang the controller, so it's not swinging when you're trying to.
Rainbow controllers in the Australian market definitely are all an outdoor controller.
Yep.
If you had this inside your carport and you didn't really feel the need to have a door that was something swinging, or this was tucked up hard against an area where a door wasn't going to work, you can remove the door, then mount it.
Obviously, by removing the door, you're exposing the controller to the risks of bugs and spiders kind of living in the controller.
Correct. If this, you would never. Do not do this on an outside under an eave or something like that. That would void warranty, obviously, because then you've got UV getting onto the LCD.
Well, we've seen what happens with the plastic. If you bring a controller back to an irrigation shop and try and convince the store salespeople that the controller has had its doors closed, it's pretty obvious when it hasn't, because
there are different plastics, so these fade out, turn orange. Yeah. So initial clean.
It's clean. It's not like that's got the Link Ready logo, which
big font. Link Ready as well, which is obviously all their new range.
Well, the original ESP-ME before the upgraded faceplate didn't have that, and that was the differentiator. So that's
correct.
It's good to see. It obviously runs the same process of setting up a controller as all their other controllers. Get the date and time set in there, get your start times, get your run times, get your watering days.
Yep.
I think this colour change is different. Like it goes from blue to.
I think they've kind of kept blue. Through your main schedule side of things, and then your, I guess, automation manual side of things are in green as, I guess, additional features, other than obviously auto.
So blue's all you need to do.
Blue, and I guess a general rule that they've always done with all brands of controllers has always been start at 12 o'clock and move your way around clockwise and set your settings. Don't need to necessarily jump, you sort of just follow that process. Obviously, if you followed the instructions, you would find that it would actually follow that same process. Okay.
So if we plug this in then, I think we'll see what the screen looks like. The screen on this is different to... I don't think we needed to pull that out, but...
I just want to know.
So you see the screen's darker than the old screen. So that's a backlit screen.
Yep.
As in the bit behind it's darker. It looks nicer. I've spoken about this plenty of times. I don't understand why high quality screen technology hasn't come into controllers. Like you can buy a mobile phone for $49 with a better screen resolution than a controller.
Yeah, and a camera.
Yeah. But I don't think we need a camera on it, but
no,
couldn't hurt. Security feature takes photos of people when they change things.
Solitaire option. Yeah. We obviously go through to date, time, set our times. That would have a start time. I'm assuming we have 3, 4, 5, 6 start times.
Okay.
With run times down to...
So
the default was at 10 minutes.
So we obviously looked at the Hunter X2 recently.
Yeah.
And they had 8 start times? Or was that the Node BT? That was 8 start times. And their run times down to 1 second.
Yeah, 1 second.
Yeah. But the controller didn't have that.
No.
Yeah.
No. Yeah.
So that's pretty standard for them to have 6 start times, 4 programs,
1 minute.
1 minute interval. I'm assuming they've got delay between stations and all that jazz.
They do have station delay. They're advanced features, which they've given that card for as well.
Yep.
And then obviously, if you were to go down that path of putting in the link module and going to Wi-Fi, it becomes a lot more user-friendly off your phone as well. So, not that this isn't user-friendly. So
No, so this is a standalone controller at the moment that's 4 stations as a base.
Yep.
You don't have to have a link module, which is the product I've got here, which connects it to the internet. So it becomes a Wi-Fi adapter so that you can communicate from anywhere in the world. It doesn't have any modules in it. These are modules. So there are 3 and a 6 station module that you can use to expand the controller out to 22 stations, but you can expand it incrementally. So you could go, what is it now, 4?
Yeah, so these always come as default for
So you can go
station.
7 or 10.
So as
13.
they come in, they are a 4-station controller, which is your 4 stations at the bottom here. You've also got your valve test, which is a permanent 24 volt powered supply.
Permanent.
Always on.
So if the controller's plugged in,
That's powered.
That's powered.
That's always powered. Obviously, you'd still need to take that across the common to create that circuit.
Yep.
And then you've got a master valve, which can be generally a master valve or a pump start or something like that if you want to set a relay off. Yeah, hot swappable.
so you
just
can
in
put
case.
this in while it's programmed and you don't need to reset the controller.
My understanding is, yeah, it's a hot swappable thing.
That's what that means?
Yeah.
Because I remember the Hunter ICC being a case that if you put new modules in, they recommended a hard reset and a reprogram. So
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it was a hot swap thing, so you can, as it is now, plug it in.
yeah, cool.
I probably wouldn't recommend having. I don't think it has the ability. Obviously, if we were to go now,
Yep.
one thing to notice is this is a base 4 station. If I go to station 4, if I was to progress to 5, it says 5 no mod. So it knows that there's no module in there. So it's not like you can.
And the module that we put in could be a 6 or a 3.
Correct.
If we're going to put in a 6 and a 3, the 6 goes first.
6 goes first because it will follow that sequencing.
Yep.
If you go the other way, you'll skip 3 valves and it becomes confusing.
Yep, cool.
Yep.
Alright, so the only other additional product that can be joined to this controller that we haven't talked about is flow sensor?
The main
Or rain sensor?
Rain sensors, yes. Obviously, on the ability with the Rainbird have a wireless rain sensor, and they have a wired rain sensor. You can also use third-party rain sensors, providing it's a micro-click kind of situation. So Hunters,
Orbits.
Orbits, Toros, all that sort of stuff. So you have the main feature of bringing out the ME3 was flow.
Yep.
So they brought out flow control, that ability to monitor how much water you're using, and then read any potential high flow problems and shut the system down to stop floods. And
Does
stuff.
that I mean, so we've got a flow sensor here. I guess I'm conscious that we're jumping around, but I'm thinking that with an unboxing, I'd rather talk about the features of the controller and then make a separate video on how to program the controller, because I think that could be something that could be beneficial for people.
Yep.
And some of these, talk through some of these individual things.
Yep.
So, as I understand it, Rainbird don't have a flow sensor that is compatible with this controller for
Rainbird
for low
Australia.
flows. Yep.
Rainbird Australia bring out their smallest size flow sensor that they supply as a 40mm.
Okay.
That won't get down to the flows that's typically seen in a residential, like putting, a half
6
a
litres
dozen
a minute or
R vans on there, which might get you, I guess, 12 to 15 litres a minute. It's not going to handle that.
So in other parts of the world, no stress. US has got a flow sensor. It just hasn't been adapted to this, or it's not being brought into the Australian market.
Doesn't seem like it's being brought into
Yeah,
the
okay.
Australian market.
So people can potentially buy that online.
Correct.
Because
Yeah.
the beat is it's 25mm, say it's solvent world PVC.
However you wanted to
You
thread
can
it,
buy it, yeah,
thread
okay.
it, glue it, it doesn't really matter.
Yep.
Rainbird have a list of, I guess, recommended flow sensors that work, which is obviously their own flow sensors.
Yep.
And then we've got a series of the, I guess, a flow sensor that we bring in as well,
Yep.
which is the CST flow sensor.
Yeah, cool.
They will get down, obviously being a 25mm one that you've got there, gets down to that flow rate that is typically seen in.
What does this get down to? Do you know? Have I given you a question without notice?
Yeah, not off the top of my head. I can't remember their lowest flow that they'll read off.
So they're a little paddle sensor, like a.
There is another one that's even lower than this now, that will get down to a litre a minute.
Wow.
And read
A litre a
fine.
minute.
But we can also then go up to sort of that 50 litre a minute range as well.
Yeah, which is
without
perfect for
loading
the majority
Which-
of the residential.
Yeah, it suits that residential sort of installation. That's another unit, we just haven't got one here.
The large instructions. This is good, nice and easy reading. We're not doing CSC toilets.
Yes. So yeah, obviously, as you were saying before, expandable right up to 22 stations.
Yep.
Um,
It's very rare for us to see that residentially anymore in Australia. I'm not sure. Obviously, there's going to be larger properties. We're a very metropolitan store, so our client base isn't one that's generally
two to three lawns, 1 to
Yeah.
garden. That 6 to, I mean, the most we sort of tend to see now is that 8 valve sort of system, especially with the technology in sprinklers getting lower flow
Yep.
situations, so there's less valves going out and what have you. The other thing that this controller that's quite handy to know is it has a built-in non-volatile battery, lithium battery inside it, that if you set a program up in here, and then obviously you can use the advanced features by saving it to it and what have you as well.
Yep.
It'll remember the clock, remember the details that you've put into here. It's a 10-year life on the battery.
Yep.
What I guess a common thing that people have done is put a 9-volt battery that just comes in on the side here and sits there. That's got nothing to do with maintaining the clock on this. You actually don't need that 9-volt battery at all.
So what's that for?
That 9-volt battery allows you to pull this ribbon out from here. We can pull that ribbon out. That's just as simple as like that. And then we take this off, and if we had a 9-volt battery in there, that backlit screen would stay there, and it allows us to program that controller.
So that's obviously a feature that they've had in their controllers in the past, which may not be as necessary now, being that Wi-Fi.
You can move away with your phone and do it. Yeah.
So a contractor could have all these panels back in their warehouse, and they could pre-program all the controllers that they're going out to install for the day. If they were doing, say, like a development, and they had controllers on lots of houses, all these get mounted to the wall, and then at handover they get their panel, or on the day that the plant's going, the panel goes in, or whenever it suits them.
Well, one thing I've done for people is, instead of me having to obviously plug this in at the store, if I've sold this to them, this is pre-Wi-Fi, or if they weren't interested in going to Wi-Fi, is we'll put a 9-volt battery in there for them, and also, I guess, get an understanding of what their demand is on their yard, and I'll schedule this for them in store, and then they can go home with that. I guess a case of plugging it into the PowerPoint, plugging those field wires in, and away they go. It's set with a clock. So
this just came to mind with regards to field wires. How large a cable do you think you could get into those terminals that take 1.5 mil?
Very easily.
Yeah, cool. That's good to know.
You would be able to probably put 2.5 mil commons,
which is very unlikely. But
2.5 mil common from a commercial sense might be a requirement, and this controller would still power that down the line.
Something else, while we've got this open, obviously the transformers are accessible. So for that Perth market that we talked about with Hunter.
Correct.
They could
hardwire
them.
Yeah, obviously electrician to do so, but access the inside of this, and then they have the ability to obviously come off of that prior and actually do a hardwire into a switchboard.
That's pretty much it, isn't it? That's you've got your, I guess from an unboxing standpoint, that's what the controller looks like, how it comes apart, how it plugs in. There's no plug here. This is something that Hunter brought up that was an issue for some of their contractors. If you do hardwire the controller, you're going to have to plug that hole somehow.
Not so much from the hardwiring, but if you chose not to come through the bottom with your field wires and you wanted to leave that plugged, I guess my own irrigation system, my wires come through the back of the controller. So I would use a pre-cut out here, knock that out. That cutout doesn't then just kind of click into there. So it then leaves me a gap that has the ability of ants.
It's an interesting thing to leave that hole open, isn't it? But I guess it makes it easier for, I guess, the general public.
I think they've probably addressed 90% of the market are coming through the bottom, because obviously your valves are in the ground. So
and you just have a conduit come up. I mean, it is an outdoor controller, so
correct.
So from a mounting standpoint, there's a hook on the back that you can see there. So you'd hang your first screw on the wall. You can then hang that on the screw, put your spirit level on top if you're that way inclined. I'm not. And then you can sink your other screw, or mark your holes for the other screws, take it off, drill your other holes, and then...
Yep, correct. And that just obviously stops it from twisting and being able to actually be removed without removing these anchoring screws. While I've got this off, it's probably easier to show. It does have the ability in here for a reset as well, so if there was, I guess, some dirty power that came in, that just it's still an electrical dirty power like
I've never heard that term. I've heard it at AFL matches.
You can obviously reset the controller.
Now that button wasn't there on the other ones.
Yes,
it was always there.
Yep.
So
that's been fine, and obviously this remote accessory, that's your link module.
Yep.
So we would then be able to plug that link module into here, and away we go.
So that's the controller. We'll make an additional video on how to program the controller, and then we'll do some little just the tips, which is one of our old series, where we'll talk about the special features. This controller is available as a bare controller from waterpro.com.au. It's available as a package deal with link modules, or you can then obviously buy your station upgrades, and you can then buy your flow sensor. So as with any of the videos that we make, if you've got any questions or you want to know more information about this, please feel free to comment in the comment section. We are actively watching that, or you can contact the store or send us an email or a Facebook DM or an Instagram message or whatever your chosen communication method is. So is that about it?
That's it.
Thank you.